Happy Tuesday. I'm Wiley, your favorite information scientist in training. I'm a 6th-year PhD candidate in information science. My field is race, digital studies, and intersectionality, and I'm currently working on my dissertation. The findings and discussion part, and the coding and analysis of the podcast episodes. My research questions look at examining the digital information practices of Black trans men, and I did interviews, and I am also coding the podcast episodes. So the last 2 days I've been working on coding the podcast episodes to my code book because I'm using critical technocultural discourse analysis. It's called CTDA. And also because not only is that a part of my dissertation, I'm meeting with Dr. Brock, who's an external member of my committee, and so I had set up a meeting with him to talk about how it's going, where I'm at so far, and to have him look at it, because I think for me one of the challenges is when you've not done the methodologies or just the research process in general, it can be muddy, it can be uncertain, it can be is my approach, am I following, going along with this approach in the right manner, any suggestions, any tips. And I've coded some episodes, and I have some actual live examples to show and to ask my questions. So I'm looking forward to that meeting. Also, I think one of the challenges that I have in the experience is that I really miss my dad. My dad completed his EDD in 2000, and he was my research person, the person that I would talk to about research questions or just research. Even as a librarian, a tenured librarian, I would ask him, questions and talk about my research studies. I think this would have been really interesting to talk with my dad about this study. It really would have been for so many reasons, but I digress. So one of the things I've been doing in my process of being a grad student is I journal. Write down all my thoughts, even if they're ridiculous or if they're research related. There's a little book, or sometimes I make voice notes. And yesterday I was talking to one of my friends who was asking me about the research process and how my dissertation was going. And one of the things that I said to her was, sometimes I'm annoyed that you can't call heaven and talk to my dad and ask him any questions. And I think God must have a sense of humor, because this morning, the devotional that I read opened with my dad's favorite scripture, which is Proverbs 3:5-6, I believe. Don't quote me, but it's trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. That's the paraphrase version. Don't, Bible scholars, Christianese, don't come for me. I'm just saying, that's the scripture. But I thought, God must have a sense of humor, because that was the scripture that I saw today. I laughed, and I did read the devotional, and it was talking about the sacred space of surrender. For the rest of my day, I continue to work on coding. I, wrote my little mini report, and I'm ready for my meeting with Dr. Brock tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm, celebrating the wins of the day. I'm gonna make me some lamb tacos. I reheated a lamb this weekend, Sunday, and I'm gonna make lamb tacos. And I like this program called SkyMed. I'm behind on season. I haven't seen season 3, and I didn't finish season 2. So I started watching that this evening. But before we do that, I'm going to do my grounding exercise of taking a bubble bath. I like to do my meditations, do my prayers and things I'm grateful for. And why am I sharing that with you? Because I think everybody has to have a process when they're completing tasks, when they're going after their goals, whether your goal is you're trying to get a PhD, or you're working full time, or wherever you may find yourself. Do what works for you. So that's my update. I use the Wiley Report to talk about my life, my experiences, and where I'm at in terms of this dissertation process. And it's going okay. It's frustrating sometimes, maybe because this is the liminal period. Liminal means you're in the transition. And it's interesting because, yes, I wrote my narrative about my research questions and who I was in conversation with. And now you're at the part where you're writing that out. And there's nowhere to hide. There's no mask that you can wear. You're just going to keep going in this process. So that's interesting. It brings its own set of experiences and its own set of emotions. But I'm continuing to forge ahead. I do think it's interesting in terms of the ways that you receive encouragement and empowerment, because like I was telling you what I got with the scripture that felt encouraging. I was printing today and a coworker leaned in my office and said to me the statement that I would always say to her: you can do it. I told my wife about the scripture and she was like, hey, write that down in your journal, pray about that, ask for clarity. So hey, my spiritual mentor and also surrogate parent Baba said, I love to see it. So all of those feel like little nudges, and I could be reaching, but hey, this is my life, this is my journal, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing my best to hang on, hang in there, millisecond to millisecond, moment to moment, as a good friend used to say. And says, I don't know if she still says it, but I always felt encouraged when she used to talk about that sometimes moments are too hard to grasp for. She needed millisecond to millisecond. And I totally identify with that, because I take days, millisecond to millisecond. So that's my story. That's what's happening. I'm hanging in there. I hope that wherever you are, you know that you matter. You know that you're valued. Shout out to the home team of supportive advisors, supportive faculty, a wife, and so many friends that have comments and things that they say to me that encourage me. And I really appreciate all of you. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for listening. Peace.